Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Adalina and today I'll show you my character design process for Stranger Things. But before delving into the drawing and painting stages, I'd like to share with you why I love this series. In general, I love everything that is fantasy, mystery, thriller and magic, like Harry Potter, The Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, and so on. But what I appreciate the most about Stranger Things is the realism of the surreal. Eleven is not like a supergirl from the Marvel movies, but an ordinary girl with abilities that come from years of training her mind and perhaps also from experimental chemical. In any case, this is something that can really exist in reality in my opinion, while the superheroes we usually see in movies are more fictional and unbelievable. Another thing that I really enjoyed was the introduction of another dimension, a fantastic dimension in the ordinary life of a group of kids. These kids are also outsiders, nerds, and misunderstood by their peers, but the fact that they're so close shows how much friendship is valuable. Last but not least, the 80s setting. Even if I didn't live during that period of time, this created in me a kind of nostalgia. They have faithfully reproduced every single detail, from the music to the environments to the clothes and the overall atmosphere. I also love the evolution of the characters and their psychological side. Obviously, I love some characters more than others. And because I love to observe people and their uniqueness, I approach the study of characters. So thanks to this series, I have the opportunity to study 6 main characters from Season 2. I don't want to faithfully reproduce a photo, so I decide to have several photos for each character as reference, and I gather them to the side of Photoshop with the Pure Ref app. In the beginning, I think about the pose and the gesture that best suits each character. Then I use the photos to better draw the details on clothes, face, and objects. The first sketch you can see underneath is very rough and inaccurate, but I focused on exaggerating the shapes and simplify the lines. And this is something that I'd like to practice more in the future and incorporate into my style. For example, I use a big rectangular shape for Mac's hair, while on Luca I exaggerate the legs both in length and shape. For these 2 characters in particular, I use a lot of rectangular shapes and hard edges because they appear serious, reliable and strong. But there is a lot more to their personality, and that's why I focus on eyes to convey that hidden side. For Dustin instead, I use a combination of rectangular and round shapes to give the feeling of kindness and happiness along with reliability. He's one of my favorite characters because he's funny and smart, and because the actor himself identifies perfectly with his role. I heard a lot of people saying that Gaten is more Dustin than Dustin, and I couldn't agree more. haven't recorded the process for the other 3 characters, but it was exactly the same. So I start with a very fast and rough sketch, then I draw on top, adding more details, and in the end I transfer everything on cotton paper, where I do the line art with waterproof ink. I sometimes use a nib or a brush for inking. I use the brush whenever I want smooth and curved lines, while the nib gives more straight and rigid lines. Eleven is also one of my favorite characters along with Dustin and Max. I really love her evolution in the series, and of course I'm really fascinated by her powers and also by her courage. I'm pretty happy with how the eyes turn out, and I think they express the force of the gesture. As for Mike, I think he has very unique features, but as for his role, I honestly think he hasn't evolved much as a character. He rarely expresses his feelings and thoughts. The same goes for Will. He seems more like a character used to make things happen but without a willpower. This is like a pun. Anyway, this is my impression, and I'd like to hear your opinion in the comments below. So after inking all the characters, I placed some shadows using the same brownish ink, but this time I diluted with a lot of water. This is not a crucial step since I'll add shadows even with watercolors later, but it helps me to have a base and paint more easily after without worrying too much about lights and shadows. And this is the last step of my process, which is of course watercolors. I don't have a lot to say about the watercolor painting since I keep it very simple in this case. I just lay down the base colors, then I emphasize even more the shadows, and in the end I add another layer of very diluted color to obtain a more intense result. I use the same color palette of my reference photos, but I try not to vary the shades too much. For example, I use the same color combination for Luca's jacket as well as for Max's hair. And I do the same also for their pants. general, this was a long process. I started working in Photoshop, then with inks on paper, and in the end with watercolors and some color pencils. But I really enjoyed it, and I think it connected me even more with these characters and their life stories. I hope you also enjoy seeing the whole process, and if you do, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me for more art content. Thank you and see you next week. Bye!